Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And I have this interesting article here. As we see in the headline, it says here, Russia's Lavrov says World War III could be near after U.S. drawn into Iran war. And this was basically published this morning. But as you can see, it says Israel and Iran's renewed and intensifying attacks at the start of this week, just prior to President Trump desperately trying to force a ceasefire. Slakia, let me close this window. This freaking dog out here. All right, that should be enough of that. So as it says here, Trump desperately trying to enforce a ceasefire saw Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warn that World War III, and I quote, could be just around the corner, especially following America's entry into the conflict with the weekend bombing of Iran's nuclear sites. Now, when you go back a couple of years, maybe a decade or so, there was a time when World War III was known as a conspiracy theory, right? You mention World War III, people start looking at you. They start thinking of, oh, this guy must watch David Icke. He must be into this conspiracy stuff. He's talking about a war in the East and yada, yada, yada. But now you have it to the point where everybody is talking about it. People are afraid. And even the key players who are going to partake in this war are already saying it like, yo, we're at the time where it looks like this thing might really be coming soon. And that's because it will be coming soon. All right. And, the Lord has truly blinded people to the point where you still have people today that they can't connect the dots and say, wow, this was prophesied by the prophets, right? The men of old, they've been out there, men of old, right? Which we're back again here today, right? Starting with the elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down. They've been teaching this. You can go back and find videos that are very, very old. I remember those videos where you would have the apostles and they would have the backdrop that says World War III. And then they would be in the couch area. You'd have Apostle Ramla reading. You have Apostle Gabar, at the computer area, right? And then you have Apostle Har there breaking it down. And they were going into World War III. They were going into all these breakdowns at a point in time when it was like, people couldn't see that how this would possibly happen. They're like, no, tensions aren't even near close enough to have an actual third world war. Countries wouldn't actually do that. They know it's going to be mutually assured destruction. Well, fast forward to 2025. Here we are, June 2025, and a Russian foreign minister is warning that World War III could be just around the corner. This is why the scriptures say the words of the Lord are faithful and true. Okay? It's not a lie. These aren't lies, right? These are the words of the Heavenly Father that He has showed us. And blessed are they that believe in these words and have taken heed, because it's about to get crazy. Now, when the prophecy of the MOTB, right, comes to pass, at that point, people are just going to lose their minds. Okay, because it will be a big deal, and people are going to lose their minds when they see it happening and they see it in real time. Like, oh, shoot, I'm actually looking at the fulfillment of this prophecy right here. And some people are going to get so messed up in the head that they're going to force themselves into denial to say, no, this can't be it. No, there's no way. No, that's not it. And that's going to be the spirit of the Lord on them to deceive them to their destruction. Anyway, it says here, he also called the B-2 bomber attacks authorized by Trump irresponsible and said they were in violation of international law. But do you know why this happened? Proverbs 21:1. The heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord, and as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will, roughly paraphrasing. So the Most High puts it into The Most High puts it into the minds of these leaders to do what they do. Whether they are the ones giving the orders or receiving the orders, it's the Lord orchestrating it all so that his words will come to pass. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And if people think the prophecy at MOTB is shocking, you think martial law is shocking, like when you go back, Trump got into office, people were like, oh, Trump has a good relationship with Putin. So, maybe he is going to fix the country. Maybe things are going to become better again. And in a matter of literally such a short span, you had riots over there in LA. As that was ongoing in just a short span, all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, you had this striking on Iran. And it's been, what, less than a month? See how fast things go? It's been less than a month, and dudes were already on the brink talking about World War III. So do you see how fast things can change? So as to where one day you wake up and think, yeah, but they're going to calm down. They declared a ceasefire and things are calming down. Boom, Lord's going to hit you with something else. And the key here is it happens so fast. It doesn't take much for the Lord to set up the next event. And the reason is because it's the setup that you don't see. To you, it doesn't look like a setup because you don't see how it's interrelated. But to the Lord, it's exactly the perfect setup. Right? And all of a sudden, you're thinking, okay, things have calmed down. They're saying this is a time of peace. This is a time of peace. Everything is all good. And then something happens and now you're under martial law, wondering how the hell did that happen so fast? I can literally remember a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago or just yesterday, I was at the gym or I was at this grocery store. I went to see this movie and now freaking military is all over the streets. How or what? Like, what's going on? People are going to be messed up. But that's why the Lord said you got to be on your watch, because when he sets it off, it's off. So if people think this is bad, they think this is shocking, they think World War III is a crazy thing, what are you going to do when the Lord makes his return? Because that's going to happen. The day you look up and you see the skies filled with chariots, angels zooming around, destroying, and delivering. And I mean, here's the kicker. When they see people getting beamed up, and then at some point later, they see them coming down, man, at that point, it might not be the missiles that kill people. It's just going to be the shock. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, your idea and understanding of reality is going to be so distorted. The level of cognitive dissonance that people are going to have to go through at that point is going to be so much. Some of them's brains might get fried because they're seeing it and their eyes are sending signals back to their brain, but their logic and reasoning is going to be nope, that's not possible. There's a malfunction here. How is there a man, X amount of feet tall with his eyes glowing, flying right in front of me, shooting lasers out of his eyes? How is there actually a UFO up in the sky and they're saying this is what? Oh my gosh. So, it's only going to get more and more intense. Let's use that for lack of a better word from here. But we're in the era of prophecy. Okay. It says here, this will not be peace and order, but complete chaos. And as President Putin said today, the Third World War may be very close. And guess what? They know. All right, they know. And as the world starts to shift closer and closer to this point, people are going to start to be more afraid. You know why? They're going to start to be more afraid because some of them are going to start to think in their minds, yo, what if this isn't just like the world accidentally shifting towards the brink of a nuclear war? But what if this actually means that those men that were talking about this were correct? That's what's going to scare people even more. Because if that's in their mind, once they accept that to be reality, seeing that we've been saying these things with resolve, we're not guessing this. We're not telling you it might or may or could. We're telling you it will, according to biblical prophecy. So when the thoughts of, yo, they may be right, or yo, what if what they're saying is actually what's happening, set in, they're going to start to be more afraid, because then they're going to start to say, okay, well, that means everything else they said is going to happen. And those things that they were saying were not, the easiest pill to swallow. Since the Ukraine war began, Russia has initiated closer defense ties with Tehran. Surprising. And has relied on a steady supply of Iranian shaded drones. Oh, shaded, I'm bugging. Shahed. Either way, drones. It is offered to assist Iran based on specific requests, but is unlikely to get engaged in any military action against Israel. But this is all the more beauty in it. Remember that the Lord likes shock value. Right? When you go back to the time of Gideon, the Lord reduced the number of warriors so it would be more glorifying to him, right, when Israel gained the victory. Because when the Lord makes a situation less likely to happen, and then he makes it happen, you understand that this isn't just a natural course of events. So whenever you see headlines or reports or things that look like they're steering in the opposite direction, think of it like somebody is standing at the edge of a cliff, right? And the goal is for them to jump off the cliff, but then they start running in the opposite direction. And now you're thinking, oh, damn, it looks like they changed their mind. Or they may just be running back so they can have more space to build up momentum as they run towards the edge of the cliff. Might not be the best example, not advocating for anything here, but just giving an example that sometimes it's not what it looks like. Going in reverse might be to go faster in the original direction. So when you see these kinds of things, right? Oh, but it's unlikely to get engaged in any military action against Israel. That means nothing in the face of prophecy, because we know, pursuant to Ezekiel 38, that they are directly going to engage in military against Israel. They're actually going to send troops up in there. That's prophetic, right? So when we see these things, that's why it's amazing to have your faith in the Lord, because when you see these things, it strengthens your faith in knowing that the word of the Lord is what's going to stand. And these are all based on people's minds, the thoughts of men. Putin doesn't think so, or the world forecasting it doesn't see it. But then again, their very thoughts are dictated by the Lord, who says, yes, this is going to happen. And we take comfort in the words of the Lord. Lavrov's comments focused big picture and the unraveling of regional stability, and he connected the Middle East and Eastern European theatries, or if that's how you pronounce it. Now, also, on the point that I just made there, it's along the same lines. When you have situations like this, where there's a major escalation, and then it slowly starts to like calm down, and they're like, all right, if Israel stops, we'll stop, and then Israel stops, and then they stop, and it's like, all right, we're good now. It's been a couple weeks, okay, it's been a month or two. All right, cool, we're all set. You have people who are in such denial, or maybe their faith may be weak, and they may say, oh, it looks like we're good again. People that didn't want it to go in this direction, and be like, see, I thought you guys said it was going to happen. It's not going to happen. Guess what? This is still just another example of you may be running in the opposite direction just to speed up back in the original direction, right? So it's not about, remember, world events don't dictate prophecy. Prophecy dictates world events, okay? The same, whenever you see situations like this, look back to the time where Biden was in power, and they said there wasn't going to be inflation. There wasn't going to be inflation. They said it so adamantly. And all of a sudden, the forecast changed from there's not going to be inflation to it's going to be transitory. And all of a sudden, transitory changed to what the hell is this? Then think back even further to the demic. Oh, it's crazy. We're not going to do any lockdowns. Then there were lockdowns. Oh, it's only going to be for 2 weeks. Then it turned into 2 years. Oh, we're not going to force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. And then that's exactly what they do. The point here and the pattern here is it's not about what they say, what they forecast, or what they see. It's about what the Lord has counseled. It's about what the Lord has said to happen. So that's why it says we walk by faith and not by sight. The way we live our life, the things we base our decisions and everything off of is what the Lord has said. Because the Lord doesn't change as to where man is volatile. Where we at with it? The chaos sown by the U.S. in the Middle East is parallel to the same in Ukraine, he explained. Their intention to use Ukraine against Russia is no longer hidden. Russia is demonized. Even the world demonized does not quite reflect this aggression, some kind of beastly one in rhetoric, in actions, he added. This certainly isn't the first time the top Russian diplomat warned that Washington's actions are preparing for potential World War III. For example, last year there was this. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov issued a World War III warning to the U.S., saying that the West was asking for trouble by even considering Ukrainian requests to use supplied weapons to conduct strikes deep within Russian territory. See what else we got here. Right, discussions about using Western supplied missiles to strike Russia are tantamount to playing with fire, Lavrov told reporters in Moscow on Tuesday. And I'm going to get this real quick. This is Revelation 11 and 14. It says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right, it's coming quickly. And what that means is the preceding prophecies are also going to come quickly. Always keep in mind, right, and you look at the pattern of prophecy, the buildup might take a while, but the enactment, if you're not careful, is going to take you by surprise. Because it's not according to what we think or how we think something is going to play out, but how the Lord has set it out to play out. So it seems Moscow is now saying the U.S. is also playing with fire in its attacks on Iran. There's also been much speculation that Trump's muscular and brazen actions are meant to signal China too. Let's see. In 1997, Biden bragged that he dismissed Russia's concern about NATO expansion. Moscow would be ignored as the U.S. was the only game in town. Biden mocked Russia's warning it would have to align with China and joked that Russia could also partner with Iran as the crowd laughed. Let's hear this.
Where do they go? I had one interesting comment. Our conversation with Zaganov was repeated with Levin. They talked about they don't want this NATO expansion. They know it's not in their security interests and on and on. And said, well, and if you do that, we may have to look to China. And I couldn't help using the colloquial expression from my state by saying to Zaganov, lots of luck in your senior year. Good luck. And if that doesn't work, try Iran. I'm serious. I said that to them, and these were, and they know, I knew, they knew, everybody knows that is not an option. And everybody knows, every one of those leaders acknowledges and needs, and they resent it. But they need to look west. And the question is, whether this is designed to completely shut them out, but not in terms of whether or not it's a direct military security threat.
So that's interesting, huh? Look to Iran. You notice how you have your Agora, right? That goes into that marketplace, right? You go into some of them words in Revelation 13, you'll see it there. But anyway, it says, but if anything, Russia and China are sitting back watching the chaos unfold as a desperate Trump seems to now be begging America's closest ally to halt the warplanes and abide by ceasefire. And the reason they're sitting back and not getting involved yet is because when you pour gasoline or a exacerbant, if that's a word, on fire, the fire doesn't lag. It's not going to take, 2 to 3 minutes, pour some gasoline on it and wait 2 to 3 minutes and then it'll flame up. No, it immediately is going to, it's going to flare up, right? So that's why the Lord is not having Russia and China and these allied nations jump right in just yet, because that would move way too fast, right? Remember, there's still preceding prophecies that need to take place before that fire flares. All right. But similarly, I'll give you the example of like cooking. When you are cooking, if you're making something that involves water, typically what you would do is you would sort of interleave or work concurrently, right? Concurrently is not parallel. Concurrently meaning one, then the other, then one, then the other, then one, then the other. But you would work concurrently to have things move smoothly, right? So you would first pour the water, you would put it on the stove, and then you would turn on the stove. So while it's boiling, or while it's taking time to reach its boiling point, you are preparing whatever it is, whether it's noodles or whatever it is you're going to put into the water once it comes to a boiling point, right? You're not going to, to make it most efficient, you're not going to just wait. And then once you've prepared this thing already, then you go and turn on the fire. So then now you gotta wait another, X amount of whatever. Okay. So once you turn on that fire and it's boiling or it's heating up, you preparing whatever it is you got to prepare. And once it reaches that boiling point, boom, you throw in the noodles or whatever it is that you're trying to put it up in that pot. Okay. So it says here, if Trump is unable to achieve ceasefire in the Middle East, Moscow and Beijing will surely take note of this too, and will use it as another black eye and charge against Washington. And best believe that it'll go past that, but at its appointed time. So nonetheless, it's all very exciting news when you are, in the lane of prophecy, because we understand that the Lord is working, right? Matter of fact, let me actually get one more precept real quick. This is Psalms 119 and 126. It is time for thee, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, to work, for they have made void thy law. All right. And that's the times we're in. We're in the times when the Heavenly Father is working and he is about to bring his fear back on the earth again. So with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Racha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.